So, what's the plan?
First, cheers.
Well, no, that's okay. Cheers. So today's subject is going to be solar panels on a property and how it affects real estate, both sides. So, as a broker, how I deal with it and what I come across, and then
As
Tracy.
a lender and how it affects the financing of a purchase.
Exactly. So, I've sold many properties with solar panels in the past, and it's always an issue. Always an issue. The only time I've never had an issue and it's smooth selling is whenever the seller decides they're going to pay off the solar panels or they're already paid off at closing, because at that point it doesn't affect the buyer in any case. But I've had multiple listings where great locations, great pricing, super hot properties, but they don't sell fast enough because we have plenty of interest, plenty of buyers, but they get turned off by the solar panels.
Yep. So what
Because
turns the buyer off from the solar panels? Why do
what
they?
turns on?
Yeah. Why do they get turned off by the solar
Well,
panels?
primarily because they're taking on a debt that's not theirs.
Yep.
They have to take on this new debt that somebody else acquired in order to buy the house that they want. A lot of times it doesn't make sense either. For example, one I had in Winter Park, Florida, they owed about $150,000 on the solar panels, and the monthly
Only the
payment on
solar panels. Yeah.
only the solar panels.
Yeah.
And the monthly payment on it was $475, and it was a newer home too. So your electric bill on newer homes is not that high.
Right.
Yeah, and I believe that covered most of the electric bill. I think it was still almost $100
Mm-hmm.
for the electric bill. So in reality, they were paying, five,
Five
six
something a
hundred
month.
bucks
Yeah.
for their electric bill on a monthly basis. Well, electric and solar
And solar.
panels. So it just didn't make sense. So essentially now a potential buyer is taking on a 475,000 or $475 monthly payment that they weren't expecting
Yeah.
when buying a property. So yeah, that's what turns off a lot of people on my end.
Yeah.
What about at your side?
So provided the buyer is okay with it, they're thinking, oh well, I'm going to get the benefits of the solar panels with the lower bill of only $100. So sure, I'm cool with that. But they're running a debt to income that's really close
Mm-hmm.
to the maximum allowable for an approval.
Mm-hmm.
You try and factor in that 475 a month on top of the mortgage payment and any other outstanding debt payments they have, all of a sudden they don't qualify anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're just going to pay off 150,000 to close.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden the deal's not doable or financeable anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the purchase falls apart.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I'm sure, are like, running on edge already, between their debt to income, the bills that they already have, or the
Higher
debts they
rates,
already have,
higher rates. Yeah.
higher rates as well. So some of them are like right there
Yeah.
on their DTI, and then any
Yeah.
little thing can throw it off. I mean, shit, there's people you tell me, hey, they can't even be looking at houses with an HOA,
Yeah.
let alone, a solar panel payment.
Well, a lot of times, so people want to know what's the max I can buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you say, all right, you can buy 450,
Yeah.
but that's with taxes, insurance, principal, and interest
Mm-hmm.
payment. Then, I mean, if that's the max they can buy, say you have a loan program that allows a 50% debt to income, so half of their monthly income is allowed to be used for mortgage payment,
Mm-hmm.
all housing costs, mortgage, principal, interest, tax,
Yeah.
insurance, and any other outstanding debts,
Yeah.
right? So then you throw in an HOA, 250, 300 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That puts them over the 50%. That's without even throwing in another 475 for a solar panel or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, or then they see that they'll be okay with the 450 house paying whatever their monthly payment is, but
Mm-hmm.
then you add another three something for the HOA, and then like,
Yeah.
whoa, I don't want to pay that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that'll kill it. But the main thing is, if they can swallow the HOA, they can't swallow both.
Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
just won't fit in their
Yeah. Absolutely.
calculations. So,
I mean, do you think there's an upside to solar panels at all, in your personal opinion?
no,
No.
no.
Okay.
I think they have a lot of room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So once their lifespan becomes longer than a lot of their loan
Mm-hmm.
term, so
Mm-hmm.
essentially a lot of the times the solar panels are financed
Mm-hmm.
for about how long they last. So
Yeah,
by the time you
about
take them
25
off,
years or so.
you got to
Yeah.
replace them. And
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
forbid you need a roof in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have them removed and reinstalled.
Yeah.
And that's an outrageous expense, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I don't see the benefit right now of
Yeah.
it. outweighing the encumberment of the cost.
Yeah.
Right. So I wouldn't put them on my house necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, there is benefits to them, if you're
Mhm.
looking at it from a green perspective and renewable
Yeah.
energy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But financially, it's
Yeah.
tough to
Well, I mean,
swallow.
as long as your financed amount is not more than what your electric bill is going to be, because then
Yeah.
at that point it doesn't really make sense. You're
Right.
buying it to save energy or to
Save
cut
money.
exactly
Yeah.
save money, but essentially you're paying more because the lease or the monthly payment on the solar panels itself is way more than what your electric bill is going to
Well,
be.
yeah, think about that house, right? $475 a month for the solar panels, and they still got $100 electric bill.
Yeah.
That's $575 a
Yeah.
month. I don't know what kind of house that was, but
Yeah.
$575 is a pretty substantial
Yeah.
electric bill.
Yeah.
Even here in Orlando, Florida,
Yeah.
100 degrees dead of summer.
Hmm.
I mean, you're going to have a substantially large
Yeah.
square footage home
Yeah,
to
like
have electric bill that big
$200-300 even,
on a normal house.
Yeah, on a normal house
2,500,
during
3,500
summer.
square feet. Yeah.
During summer, and
Yeah.
during winter is like even
We don't have
$100.
You don't barely ever run heat
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
So,
Sometimes. I mean, another thing with me too is that I think you touched on it a little bit earlier too is, so if you think about it, you're digging holes into your roof in order to
Mhm.
install these solar panels.
Yeah.
So for each hole that they drill is a potential leak that you can have in the future. It doesn't matter, how much sealant they put
Caulking
on
and
there,
all
or
that.
caulking or whatever the case. It's there's a
still a
potential
penetration.
room for error there, right?
Yep.
So even if it's a newer roof, you can run into leaks in the future. But unfortunately, a lot of times I've seen older roofs with solar panels on it.
Yep.
So now imagine you have to take those solar panels to replace the roof in the future. The solar panel company is going to charge you to take them off.
Yep.
And to reinstall them whenever you're done with the roof. So essentially what you're doing is you're paying the solar company to take them off. You're putting on a new roof, and then they're coming back to drill more holes into the brand new roof that you just put in.
Yeah, and that's if they don't replace the plywood decking.
Yeah.
Because if they don't replace the plywood decking, so now you got a whole new set of holes, plus the old existing holes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So now you got a double set of holes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know all that in the construction side that well, but
Yeah.
I don't like penetrations of the roof any more than you had.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just to narrow it down, in my opinion, I think is a bad idea. Unless you're paying cash for them.
Yep.
Or you plan on paying them off when you sell your
Quickly.
property.
Yeah.
With the equity that you have in your home when you decide to sell. Because I've seen those situations too where the seller says, at closing, I'll pay them off. That's a great scenario to be in because it doesn't affect the buyer in any way.
Buyer makes out
Exactly. They're going to benefit from the solar panels. But if they're not going to pay it off and they expect the buyer to take on this new debt or lease or whatever you want to call it, it just doesn't make sense. So in my opinion, don't do it.
What we'll have to do is we'll have to find a solar rep to come on here with us and get their take on it and see what they
maybe
say.
break it down.
Then we can get some comments on what they
Yeah.
think, because their perspective on it's totally different, how wonderful it is. But it's just like any other sales.
Yeah.
It's your job to tell me how great it is.
Now I have a listing that I just acquired recently that has solar panels, and I feel like it's not that bad. So their balance on that one is only $39,000. Actually, it's a lease. It's not a purchase. So there isn't like a payoff balance.
Yeah, but how does leasing solar panels? Do they got to give them back?
So after 25 years, they come and get them.
Which they're probably not much good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So their lease is only $159 a month, and then their electric bill is $43. So that's what it's going to be all year round. But after 5 years of owning them, if they want to purchase it, it's only $39,000 for the panels.
After 5 years of ownership?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's only going to cost them $39,000.
It depends on how big the system is. It might just be a $39,000 system.
Yeah, it could be.
And then you paid five years of
lease. with the $39,000 system, they're only getting a $43 electric bill every single month, on top of the $159, right? And electricity is only going to go up in the future. So I think in that scenario, it doesn't seem as bad. Only $150 something.
There's some positives to it.
Yeah, but regardless, it's still a debt that somebody is taking on. Essentially when they
doing a real estate transaction, it can really muddy the water.
And I'll tell you how. So the first day it was on the market, I got a cash offer for it, and they're willing to do full ass cash. The only holdup is the solar panels.
Yep.
They already asked, can they take them off? No, we can't take them off. So now thinking
Take
whether
them off
it's
as in
worth.
remove them from the house.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
No, we can't do that. We called the solar panel company, but now they're thinking about it. They might do it because the balance. They asked how much is the balance, so I guess they're thinking about maybe paying them off themselves or requesting a payoff quote, and hopefully it
So that could
works
be
out.
in your side. That's part of the negotiation, right? They say, all right, you pay half of it from your proceeds from the sale of the house to me.
Yeah,
I'll cover half of it on my side. I don't know if it.
yeah.
Like
We'll
that or
see.
whatever.
Well, in this situation, the seller doesn't want to cover any of it.
Hmm.
You know, they just want to sell the property and that's it. But at least it's not as bad as other scenarios I've seen in the past. The balance is not high. The monthly payment is not high either. So, you know, I think during summertime they could be saving some money. During
Yeah.
winter time, maybe not. But I guess
Break
you have
even.
to do the numbers to see if it evens out in the course of 12 months or
Yeah,
not.
long.
You
You
know?
want to look at that from a long-term
Mm-hmm.
perspective. Now, we're making a shorter video,
Yes.
so we'll touch on this before we go. Appraisal value
Oh yeah.
from
Take it
solar
away,
panels.
Tracy.
So this was a good question I've had numerous times. From a lot of times it'll be the seller,
Mhm.
right? They'll get their appraisal back, and they'll be like, "I don't understand." Well, so the buyer gets the appraisal, right?
Mhm.
And then the house doesn't appraise for what the seller's selling it for, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Well, I got these solar panels and all this."
Yeah.
The appraisers are not adding value for solar panels because
Mhm.
they're attached to the home.
Mhm.
They consider it, I forget what the appraiser called it, like a fixture or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Yeah.
is not a value add to the property. They don't
Mhm.
have a way to comp them out
Mhm.
and add a specific dollar amount for solar panels.
Yeah.
So you can run into more also appraisal issues
Mhm.
where your seller's wanting to recoup some of that value,
Mhm.
but
So
it doesn't have
yeah, so they overvalue the property
it doesn't
compared to
have the
comps. And
return on
yeah,
investment on the appraisal side because the
yeah,
appraiser can't. It's just something on the house. It's not.
yeah, yeah,
It's like I got shingles.
yeah,
Well, yeah, the house has to have shingles.
yeah. Well, I feel like somehow sellers are catching on to that because in the beginning, when solar panels started becoming more popular and stuff like that, I used to have a lot of sellers ask me, well, how much more value does this add? I don't really get that anymore at listing
They
appointments.
know. Yeah.
You know, they just say, hey, we got the solar panels. We want the buyer to take over the lease,
Yeah.
but they don't ask me how much more value it is or anything like
Right.
that. So I think they're catching on.
It's a known thing where
Exactly.
hey, I got solar panels, and
Yeah.
and you know that's another benefit to working with someone experienced in our industry on both
Mhm.
sides, real estate or realtor and lender.
Mhm.
I'm gonna know right off the bat. Hey, I see that house has solar panels. What's the balance? What's the payment?
Yeah.
My buyer can or can't absorb that,
Yeah.
regardless of what the realtor's negotiating between the contract.
Mhm.
It may not matter
Yeah.
if the seller won't pay them off or whatever, get rid of it.
Mhm.
My buyer can't absorb that payment, so there's no deal,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
having the experience from the doing transactions where we run
Mhm.
into these issues, we know
Yeah.
right up front while your client's under an inspection period or whatever we got
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do, or sometimes before they even get an offer in,
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, whoa,
Yeah.
can I
Yeah.
absorb any payment on solar?" We're like, no,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't even have
Exactly.
an HOA on the property.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So
yeah,
you're definitely making your buyer pool a lot smaller by having solar
yeah.
as well.
You're
For
limiting
sure, without a
your
doubt.
buyer pool.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Well, I think let us know in the comments if you guys have any questions with solar. If maybe you have a better experience that we have found, and maybe you have some insight that we don't. Again, we're not solar professionals. We're just going off of what we see on the realtor side and on the lending side. But maybe some people might have other insight into it out there. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about our feedback, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye.
Bye. Cheers.
Cheers.
Starting then. Clippity clap.